Another spot that's going to be open besides Philadelphia is the Houston Texans. And we reported on this show, and I believe also elsewhere, that Eric Bieniemy seemed to be the favorite for the Texans job at one point, and then it kind of circled back to, okay, we saw a new GM coming in, Nick Caserio. Maybe not the case anymore. Deshaun Watson really pushing for Bieniemy. Others on the team pushing for Bieniemy. We reported since last year, told you and Ben Albright, that the questions around Bieniemy had been in the interview room. And when I say this, a lot of people get upset at that notion, because they say, well, why does someone have to be in the interview room? That doesn't really translate to the field so much. And in a way, Adam Gase was a great interviewer. Joe Philbin was a great interviewer. We saw how that translated to the field.
Eric Mangini as well.
And you met Twitter. You mentioned actually a favor for Mangini to get that head coaching interview, and he walked out with the job in Cleveland.
Yeah, in Cleveland, yeah. So, that's exactly what happened.
Before we get into the actual situation about Bieniemy and why he may not be getting these head coaching jobs, can you just tell us what the latest is on him, and is he going to get one of these jobs?
I mean, I've not heard anybody think that he's solidly going to get the job. I think what happened was when Caserio went to Houston, that kind of may have booted him out. Now, maybe depends on what happens with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson may demand that Eric Bieniemy gets the job, and Houston's the only way he stays. Although, as we heard earlier this week, Adam Schefter reported that there are people in Houston who believe that Deshaun Watson has played his last game there, and the team may try and trade him. I think it's going to be. It looks like it may be another situation this year where Eric Bieniemy is on the outside looking in.
And so let's go back to that interview room, right? Let's go back to these situations. He's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Doesn't call the plays. Andy Reid does that. Some people have said, well, does he need to go to another team to prove himself that he can actually handle all of that? But let's move into the specifics as to what you're hearing, as to what people are thinking the issue is with him.
Well, it's not just that the interviews have been bad. There are a lot of people who feel that he's just not a good head coach prospect, which is why, it kind of gets dragged out. His name gets brought up in the media a lot, but inside league circles, a lot of people don't feel that Eric Bieniemy is real head coaching material. Now, there's also a set of people who feel he deserves a chance. I would agree with the latter. He doesn't call the plays, but you know what? In order to develop Patrick Mahomes, in order to develop that offense, you've got to have a guy there along with Andy Reid, and Eric Bieniemy has been that guy. And the fact is this, Josh McDaniels is getting talked about as for another potential head coaching job in the NFL. I would say Eric Bieniemy absolutely deserves a shot.
Listen, you got guys, young guy like Brandon Staley, supposedly very, very bright. Robert Saleh in New York now. Arthur Smith down in Atlanta. These guys are having less success in terms of what their offenses are doing or defenses are doing compared to Bieniemy. I agree. Someone I think, is going to give him a shot one day. And it's obviously, I can look at Mike Zimmer, right? Two totally different situations. People were put off by Zimmer and his being brash in the interview room and so forth. Obviously, the situation is different with Bieniemy. Someone's going to give him a shot, and we'll see when that shot happens, and we'll see what those results are. Either a lot of people in the media are going to be wrong, or there's going to be a few people who know the inside details who are going to, be able to say, yes, that was why no one was hiring him before.
A lot of people also feel that Andy Reid is really pushing for him to get a job, which may not be working all that well in his favor. In fact, when I asked, why isn't Bieniemy a hot candidate in Philadelphia, I was told outright they feel that Philadelphia wants to get away from Andy Reid and the Andy Reid protégés.
That makes a lot of sense. Doug Peterson following Andy Reid there. So it looks like it's going to come to the Texans. And, if the Texans want to appease Deshaun Watson and keep him happy, Bieniemy will be the move they make. But Caserio has no prior relationship with Bieniemy, so that's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out over in Houston.